You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around on a special extended version of the Agree to Disagree program here on thenewamericanmedia.com. I am your host, Brian Engelman. I want to thank our guests so far, Mr. John B. Wells, the Saturday night host of Coast to Coast AM. And I want to thank Zach Barris, NBA scout and Cleveland sports fan, for joining us for our previous program on the Unhappy Hour sports program. You know, we've caught John talking about Fukushima. Fukushima on Coast to Coast and Bilderberg on Alex Jones' radio show, and man, there's a lot in this world that can get you a little worked up if you allow it to. Or you can get involved, you can get engaged, you can be proactive, and you can get ready. You know, whatever it is. You know, I was a Boy Scout, and they teach you be prepared. Doesn't mean you need to live in a cave under a rock, scared of your own shadow. Just means be prepared. That's pretty basic, I would think. So, you know, that's why. By the way, I want to let you know, on Mondays we are co-hosting the Eccentric Perspective. It's called Eccentric Perspective with Blake Wally on Freedomizer Radio. That's FREEDOMIZER radio.com. This is Monday from noon until 1:30. We have a recurring gig co-hosting over there with Blake. Blake is an individual that he does Liberty Radio, and he caught vote fraud at the Nevada delegate convention at the GOP meeting, where people were passing out fake information, trying to trick people into thinking Ron Paul supporters, well, here, vote for these Ron Paul supporters, and they were actually Mitt Romney supporters for delegates. And he had the Ron Paul shirt on and everything. He got him on video, and we reached out to him, and he does a radio show, so we're connecting. Later tonight, we're going to be on Existential Radio, EXIS, the number 10, TIAL. We're going to be on that radio program at 7 p.m. Pacific. And now is just the time to expand. It's time to reach out. You know, time to reach out to other people that are thinking similar stuff, that are concerned about the future of our country, are concerned about the direction we're headed. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm not looking at anyone else. I'm not wishing I had anything. I'm just saying, what can I do today, and can I do more? Yeah, I can do a little more today. And there's a positive affirmation I heard when I was waiting to get on Freedomizer Radio for Eccentric Perspective. And the person before Blake was doing an affirmation, and he said, okay, we're going to do a positive affirmation. He said, I have the time and energy to do everything I need today. Say it. I have the time and energy I need to do everything today. So let's just say that. So let's do a little bit more. Right now, what we're going to do for more, this is the special extended version of Agree to Disagree. We will not shorten a John B. Wells segment to bring anybody else in, but this is something we will extend our show. We're not going to shorten John's segment, but we will extend our show to bring in Pamm Larry. Pamm is with labelgmos.org, and California is leading the way in labeling genetically modified organisms, or GM or GMO foods, pretty much all across the country. Other places are starting to stand up, and we want to get an update with Pamm. It's a good cause.
Hello.
Hello, Pamm. This is Brian Engelman with the Agree to Disagree program on thenewamericanmedia.com. You are live on the air, and I want to welcome you to the program and ask you to introduce yourself to the audience a little bit more than I have, explaining what you do with your organization and what keeps you motivated.
Sure. My name is Pamm, as you said. I call myself the initial instigator and the chief rabble-rouser, I've added that one on now, of the California Right to Know Genetically Engineered Act of 2012. I started this movement as a grassroots movement last year in January of 2011 and slowly built the grassroots on the ground, and then larger organizations and companies who have a conscience came forward to help us out because, we need a universal village to get this passed, as we know, because we've got quite a bit of opposition out there from folks who have a fiscal interest in keeping things as they are. So we've grown. We've got 90 leaders all over the state and communities in different areas organizing their communities, and we have a large manager and media director now, and so we're really big time. We're on the ballot. We just got certified last week, a little earlier than we thought we would, and we should have our proposition number soon here.
Okay, that is fantastic. Let me pause right there.
Sure.
What is the website? What is the Twitter handle? If anybody is concerned, because basically the crux of what you're trying to do, Pamm Larry with labelgmos.org, is that you are trying to put a little label, something where someone can pick up any product and take a look and say, is this kosher? Is this genetically modified? Is this okay? You want the label on all of the food, so if people don't want to consume genetically modified foods, they can see it. And I just want to make sure they know all the ways to find you, to connect with you on Twitter, on Facebook, on your main website, etc.
Sure. Well, we've been labelgmos.org, and that's an easy URL to find us at because it's what it is. It's pretty simply stated. But now that we're grown up and we're with this larger coalition, we've kind of migrated over to California Right to Know as the coalition website. So it would be carightoknow.org. And when you come, if you end up landing on our page, we'll direct you there too. But carightoknow.org and California Right to Know Twitter and Facebook and everything. So we're just funneling everything towards there as much as we can now.
Perfect, and we're on our website taking a look around right now, and it says, sign the pledge, stand up for your right to know what's in your food. It seems like a pretty simple, basic concept to want to know what's inside your food, right? Where's the opposition coming from?
Well, the opposition, that's a good question. Like I said, anytime the status quo is going to be changed when people are concerned about their fiscal bottom line, they get a little nervous and they start being afraid, and so they twist things around and they change things that really are true. And anyway, they're concerned about their bottom line is basically what it is. They're concerned that people won't want the products, I think. That's what they say. It confused people. It'll do this, it'll do that. And yeah. And my thing is if you think people don't want your product, then why are you selling it?
Absolutely. We're talking with Pamm Larry of CaliforniaRightToKnow.org. You can find her at carightoknow.org. I did interrupt you because I wanted to make sure everybody knew how to find you first. Now I want to get into the nuts and bolts of it. I didn't want to step over your big news, but you said last week you got certified a little earlier. You're waiting for your proposition number. I want you to reset that and really give this the kudos and adulation and accolades and just acknowledgement that you deserve, because this is a big milestone. Can you explain the process, where we're at now, what we're waiting on, and how it's going to play out at the election time?
Sure. So the way that it works is in California, you can either get a law through the legislature in Sacramento, or the people can rise up when the people in Sacramento aren't doing what we ask them to do, which has been happening, and we can demand what we want. And so what happens is you write a law, and then you gather enough signatures. It's roughly 560,000 if you do this one way with the state. We gathered actually over 971,000 signatures in just 10 weeks.
And that was just in case, right? Just to make sure you had extras in case they want to throw some out and play some shenanigans. You're like, no, we're good. We got hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. That and just that it was a snowball. I mean, I don't think anybody expected that we were going to get that many.
I did.
But, it was a pretty easy one to get people to sign.
Right.
And so we handed those in on May 2nd, and like I said, we got word back last Monday, a couple weeks earlier than we had thought we would get word back. And now we expect the prop number within the next couple of weeks. And, who knows, it may be Monday, we just have no idea.
That's great.
Because the state, works on its own time schedule.
And I would guess, state time is way different. Government time is way different than private sector time. And I wonder if they're going to give you one of those where it's like, vote yes on Proposition 117 to not label GMO food. Like, I wonder if they're going to try to be intentionally deceptive right off the bat to make it complicated to remember. You know how it's like, yes, I want to vote for this so we can get labels, and then do the inverse where it's like, do you know what I'm saying? I've seen this done before in so many of these.
Yeah, I think that's happened. I've heard about that happening before, but ours is pretty simple and straightforward. And if anybody reads, actually reads what they're supposed to be voting for, it's just, yes, I want genetically engineered foods labeled. I mean, that's basically it, or no, I don't. And I think that it's really a powerful thing that's happening these days in politics, particularly with this issue, is that people are getting excited again about the power that we have. I mean, there is no other ballot measure right now, and has not been for quite a while, that has this kind of grassroots support and activism going on.
Why?
For the
Well, I was just going to say, why do people care? Like, I know why I care, and I know why you care, but why do you think it's resonating with so many other people? Because you and I could just be outliers. We could be crazies, the lunatic fringe. I've been called it before. I'm fine with it. But why do you think so many Americans are giving a damn about this, just this right to know what's in your food? Where do you think it's coming from? What's the deep-seated belief here?
I think it comes from a lot of places, and, routinely over 90% of people want genetically engineered food, so, that means that all kinds of people want it. We've got Tea Partiers that are endorsing, we have Republicans, we have, Libertarians, occupiers, Democrats, Green Party, everybody eats. It's not
everybody,
like this is some kind, what?
That could be your slogan. That could be the bumper sticker. Everybody eats.
Yeah.
And like
eats.
shaking hands or sitting down at a big table, like the right wing wearing the red, and then the left wing wearing the blue, and then Occupy with like the mask over their face, and then the Tea Party waving the flag with their tri-corner hat, all sitting down at a meal saying, everybody eats. I could see it. I could see the commercial right now. That'd be great.
Me too. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll have to share that one with the media folks.
Please do. Just invite me.
But,
just invite
it's
me
pretty
to
cool.
join the dinner.
I look around the room at a meeting, and I have no clue who's there. And then people start talking, and I find out, and nobody's talking about all that other stuff. It's pretty darn cool. So this is something that resonates with all Americans, and all Americans believe we have the right to know. I mean, it's a simple market, capitalistic market sort of concept. That we get to know. I mean, markets can only operate when there's transparency in the market, or else you've got, all sorts of, false things going on. If we don't know what we're buying, how can we make informed choices? Some people come to this, people come for all different reasons. Some people are concerned because there have been no long-term human studies. In fact, there have been no human studies on this stuff, and they're concerned because they're looking around and they're noticing that we're not a very healthy society. When Japan, that labels their genetically engineered foods, was considering this, 10 years ago or whatever, the prime minister said, we will watch the children of the United States for the next 10 years. And look at what's happening. I mean, we don't know if it's related to genetically engineered stuff or not, but we're not happy, and we don't want to be part of the experiment. The other piece is a lot of people are frustrated because, 49, actually now 50 countries, because India just joined, 50 countries around the world label their genetically engineered foods, and very advanced countries like China and Russia, the UK and all of the EU, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, places in Africa label. Why aren't our foods, genetically engineered foods labeled? I mean, it's just ridiculous that we don't know what's going on. And, the other part that upsets people is, some people, is the collusion of what they perceive to be corporate interests in government, where, there's the revolving door in all the different agencies that determine this stuff. And there's heavy lobbying that goes on by a lot of these companies. And, they spend, I think I was just reading, $1.4 million in the first 3 months of 2012. Was spent in Washington lobbying, So, I mean, it's a lot of people get upset about that. There are all sorts of issues. It kind of covers the gamut. But,
it's pretty.
If we want to support something or not, do we want to support, this revolving door? Do we want to support this lobbying? Do we want to support, the fact that we are maybe being, the experiment? A lot of people have their own reasons, and some people just simply want to know. I mean, it's our right. I don't have to justify why it's my right to know. It's my right.
That is good.
You know?
I like how
Anyway.
you're changing the narrative on that, because sometimes people paint you into this false intellectual corner where they frame the conversation and phrase the question in a way where it's like, I don't know if you saw David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA, but he asked a radio show host, "Are you still beating your wife?" In response
Right.
to in
Right.
response to an accusation that some people are saying the NBA draft is rigged, and it's this classical legal theory where if you phrase a question so ridiculous as to accuse somebody in the question, "Are you still beating your wife?" you can't answer in a positive way, no matter what you say. But it is funny, you're dead on when you say that people are going from Monsanto to the FDA, into government, back to Monsanto, back to the FDA, and it's just this whole bouncing around and this inbreeding of, lobbyists and government and who represents who, and I just don't want to be a guinea pig. I think that's pretty fair to ask. I've read, Stephen King's The Stand. I've read 1984. I've thought of these Orwellian horrible future existences where whether it's Terminator 2 or something like the food supply is damaged. I don't want to be the test, and there has not been enough testing on these products. They're injecting them with insecticides that rot away the stomachs of the bugs that eat them, and then we put those things in our stomachs. Are you telling me that can't affect me? It seems obvious that people might not want to put this in their body if they have any other choice.
Well, it just, again, we should have the choice. Both sides have their science, okay? There was just a study that was released on Monday with 600 new citations called The Myths and Facts, I think, of GMOs or something like that, co-written by one guy. I remember his name is John Fagan, who I've been blessed to meet. So the Ag Biotech looks at that and says that's bunk science. And then John Fagan will look at, some of the Ag Biotech science and say that's bunk. So, I mean, I don't like to get in those discussions, you know what I mean, because they're just kind of a lost cause because nobody listens to each other. But what we can definitely say is the things like you just said, which is, we know that this does this to the bug's stomach. I don't really want to be the test person to see that it might be doing something to us, because no one's tested this, and nobody can argue about that. Nobody can argue
You're
about
right.
that. I mean, the industry says that it's the FDA's responsibility to ensure safety. The FDA says we rely on the industry to tell us about safety issues.
Beautiful.
So I'm like,
beautiful.
okay then. Yeah, okay then. Where does that leave the mom? Where does that leave the mother who's trying to, because nobody's taking responsibility and nobody's requiring testing, So, and the fact that all these other countries, they operate with a perspective and abundance of caution, that until these things are definitely proven safe, on humans in a long-term study, thank you very much, but we'll just, we want the right to know. Do I want some today? Do I not want some tomorrow? Maybe a little bit I don't care about. Maybe a little bit I do. You know what I mean? It's like everybody can have their own choice. This is an issue of information and an issue of our right to know about stuff. It's just simple.
Absolutely.
It's simple.
It's common
I don't
sense.
understand why it has to get so complicated.
It's not. To us over here at the new American media, the old American media is bought and paid for by certain places, but the new American media, it's simple to us. It's very simple that we should have the right to know. We're talking with Pamm Larry. She is with CaliforniaRightToKnow.org. That's CARightToKnow.org. That's CARightToKnow.org or LabelGMOs.org. Pamm, California is leading the way as far as getting this stuff on the ballots in the United States and kind of moving it forward. There is a global initiative to do this as well. You mentioned, I think, what was it, 30 to 50 other countries. But what would you say to some other people? Because we've been hearing stories about lawsuits being brought against people trying to put this on ballots in other states. And if there's anyone out there listening, because this will be found on YouTube, and this stuff gets passed around hundreds and thousands of times, and it gets embedded on other people's and activists' websites, what would you say to somebody that's listening to this on YouTube and says, hey, I want this to happen in my state. I'm living in Georgia. I'm living in Minnesota. I'm over here in Oregon. I want this here. You were just a person that stood up and said, I'm not tolerating this. What advice would you give them? If you could talk to yourself a year and a half ago, what do you wish you would have known?
Well, I just keep going. you just have to take a strong stand and just decide you're not going to quit no matter what. And, some states don't do ballot initiatives, and so there you have to go to the legislature, and we've all got to take a strong stand. Many of us care about this, and a lot more care about it than are actually doing something. And, it's united. I mean, many of us were depressed. Have been depressed. I go on and talk and speak, and I talk about how I was depressed before I started this, and I see heads nodding all through the crowd because we feel powerless. We feel that there's nothing that we can do. We feel, that it's inevitable, that we'll never be able to know, and that, this path is going to not change course. Our right to know. But if we just decide to make it so, if we keep that and we don't do anything, then that's what happens. It's not too, much of a leap intellectually to see that if nobody does anything, then nothing happens. But if we just all make the choice that we are going to do something, and we need help. We need volunteers out there. We need donations. This is going to be a tremendously expensive campaign. We're expecting that they're going to be, spending $60 to $100 million against us because they've got so much money to lose. We've got some stuff that we have planned, but, we need money too. We need to have some kind of presence out there because, you listen to any political thing, they always say the same thing. It's like they just come up and say the same things over and over again, and I don't know why people believe them. It's not written well. I listened to all the stuff on Prop 29. I could just hear our commercials because that's what they always do. It's, and then, it's expensive. It's, it's written poorly. It's flawed. It'll be this. It'll ruin that, and it's just, this is just what happens, and it's unfortunate, but people don't take the time to investigate it a little bit more fully and, realize, who's against it and who's for it. Moms are for this one, the ag biotech is against us. It's not that difficult to figure it out if you just think a little bit. So I'm hoping that people do. And I also know that they're inundated. There's a lot of information out there.
Right.
But we're just hoping, that we are able to reach, a lot of people that, to counter and say, hey, don't listen. It's just, this was written by people who care about you and your choice.
Right. They're not paying your mortgage to craft a narrative to portray these things as being safe. And like you said, there's science to refute the science, to refute the other science. That's fine. The Earth is flat. The Earth is round. There's global warming. No, there's not. There's global warming, but it's solar, but it's not human-made. You can go back and forth with science as far as you want. But you're just saying, just put it out there so we can take a look. And if it has that little GMO label, that little square, that little circle, that little flower burst, that little sun symbol, whatever it ends up being. By the way, have you figured out a logo yet? I just thought of that.
I don't think that there is a logo. I think it's just, it's kind of like there has to be a certain size, certain blah, 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 and it just has to be on the package. So.
Well, whatever it ends up being, you're just saying, look, we can debate the science and we can do that on the side, but we just want to know on the package that we pick up, has this been tinkered with? Is this a potential frankenfood if we want to believe that frankenfoods exist? Is it there or is it not? And I think that's very fair. And I like the way you frame that. You keep bringing it back to, I'm not saying they're bad. I personally don't want to find out if they're bad, and I would therefore want that labeled. And that seems very fair to me. So in our remaining time here, we're about out of it, but remind everybody, I definitely want to find out. We're at June 22nd. You have it on the ballot right now. You don't know the initiative number. When is the voting, and where can people sign up to donate, and where can they get more information about carightToKnow.org, I guess, on your website?
On the California Right to Know, carightToKnow.org. You can find out, you can volunteer on there. Please join us. Get hooked up with your local leader. Help us get out there and spread the word. Donate on the California Right to Know website. And join us. It's actually quite fun getting out there and talking with people and, letting them know what we're doing and feeling the power of taking back our food sovereignty.
Absolutely.
So, thanks.
Well, thank you again, Pam. We appreciate it, and I'll tell you what. Maybe in the next couple, when is the vote is going to be in November? I guess right on the same day as the presidential election. So people should be motivated come a few months from now.
20 weeks. 20 weeks is all we have. That's it. Not that much time.
Well, then maybe you and I should speak in another 10 weeks and kind of get the midpoint
Sure.
update and definitely make sure that we're getting this out there because people are interested about GMOs, and I want to thank you for standing up and doing something. We do the radio show because we can't yell at our TV sets anymore. It doesn't do any good, so we're trying to connect with other people, and we thank you for grabbing one issue and doing some good stuff with it. So thank you so much, Pamm.
Thank you, and take care. Okay.
All right, well, that was Pamm Larry of labelgmos.org, and now it has bounced over since they've grown up to caraghtoknow.org. That's caraghtoknow.org. caraghtoknow.org. It's a good cause. It is a very good cause to just consider, are you aware of what's in your food? Tell you what, we're going to take a quick commercial break. If you're listening to this on Facebook, thank you so much. Thanks for liking our page. Thanks for going over there. If you're listening to it on YouTube, please click the subscribe button. I certainly appreciate that. And I want to tell you that we're going to come back. We are going to speak with a musician, somebody who is, like Pamm stands up and she says, I want to work on this genetically modified food issue. That's good. Like John B. Wells, he gets up and he talks about Fukushima and about Bilderberg Group. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. We have friends standing up and talking about the National Defense Authorization Act. We have friends standing up and trying to just, documenting voter fraud in the Nevada state caucuses with the Republican convention. We are the new American media. You are the new American media. We don't believe the other people anymore. There are great people in journalism. I'm sure that there are. And some of them are paid quite handsomely to do what they do, and definitely encouraged to not ask certain questions. We don't have such parameters here at the New American Media. We go out there. So thank you to Pamm Larry. Thank you to John B. Wells. Thank you to everybody that participates in this. We have so many people. Mark Claire with Lions of Liberty and Dan Johnson of PANDA, People Against NDAA. Check out PANDA, People Against National Defense Act. Zach Barris with all of his sports insight. I mean, all of you guys just stepping up and saying, I have something to say. Come on in. Come on in. Let's talk. Let's have the conversation. So there is a musician that I want to speak with in a minute. Her name is Tatiana Moroz, and we will probably get her on the other side of this, play a song. She sings about revolution. It has a unique, catchy little vibe to it. We're going to take a quick break. This will be our last segment. We are on an extended version of the newamericanmedia.com. We're going over. You get your hour of time with John B. Wells from Coast to Coast AM, and you say, yeah, all right, John, you got the full hour. Then you say, oh, label GMOs. They have news to announce. Oh, they've got their stuff on the ballot. California's going to get to vote to label genetically modified foods. Oh, and we got a musician that wants to talk about, her songwriting and the fact that libertarianism and the upcoming revolution of ideas, the libertarian concept of just being free, the Ron Paul revolution, as she calls it in one of her songs. All right, yeah, all these people can come in. So this is a special extended version of our radio show today. And if you're watching it on YouTube, please just click that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. If you know anyone else that's into these issues, help us, say hello, join us, send us a direct message, say hi, say, hey, I've been checking out your shows, I enjoy them. We like that feedback. And we've had plenty of commentary, everything in between praise and ridicule and indifference and awesomeness and less awesomeness. We get it all the time. But the point is we're supposed to have a conversation here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick break. By the way, if you're not following us on Twitter, go to American_media_. Follow us on Twitter. A lot of what we do is Twitter. It's so fast. It's so quick. Just get it out there. Get it done. A lot of it. Please follow us on Twitter. All right. Quick commercial, and we're going to be right back. We're going to talk with Tatiana Moroz here on Agree to Disagree. I'm your host, Brian Engelman, on the new AmericanMedia.com.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on the new AmericanMedia.com.
Be sure that you go on to Facebook.com and do a quick search for the New American Media and like our page, because we like it when you do that. TNAM Radio, because the news always matters.
Hi, Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. Last year I had this idea. I wanted to start a website of my own, not just something, a presence on Twitter, a presence on Facebook, and have a thing. I wanted a website. I wanted a home base for all of the ideas and things I'm interested in. I wanted live radio. I wanted to communicate with the globe. I was tired of being spoon-fed dogma by corporate interest and just, here, believe this, believe this. I said, no, I think there's something underneath the surface, but I didn't know how to do it. So I contacted Ted Distel of disteldesign.com. Ted walked us through the process of, okay, you want videos, you want to do quotes of the day, you want to have a spiritual section, you want to have a 1984 watch where government's intruding and private corporations are intruding into your privacy. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in. Ted walked me through the process. We built thenewamericanmedia.com, and I encourage you to go online and take a look at our site. That's what he's capable of. Please, if you have an idea, go to disteldesign.com. That's DISTEL design.com.
Have you ever considered adopting a pet to be part of your family? Our animal companions can be just as close to us as our human companions. If you're considering adoption, please visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. Shelter pets make the best pets.
Follow thenewamericanmedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
This is the New American Media.
Hi, it's Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. I'm a sports fan. I was raised in Cleveland, spent 25 years in Ohio. I watched The Drive, The Fumble, The Shot too. I watched Art Modell steal the Cleveland Browns and win a Super Bowl over in Baltimore. I watched a horrible coach named Bill Belichick go on to the Patriots and win Super Bowls over there. Hooray. I am a bitter sports fan. Let's not even talk about what happened with he who shall not be named, who went to South Beach to take his talents there. Excuse me, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit there. I am a sports fan who cares to talk about the things that matter to me. That is the Indians, the Cavs, the Browns, and the Buckeyes. But of course, I pay attention to national sports, and we discuss that on our show as well. That's why we have The Unhappy Hour every single Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Sit down, have a drink. It's the end of a long work week, and we can all get together and talk about the unhappy times that we've had as sports fans. We've all had them. We've had ups and downs, but as Cleveland fans, we only have downs. Join us.
If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com. If you want a sports program that's going to both talk about national stories and care about the Indians, Cavs, Browns, and Buckeyes, come over to thenewamericanmedia.com and bring a couple of your friends.